it would be advisable for farmers to see what markets exist, what value addition can be done, what niche markets can be developed, and on basis of which he can evolve a good model, out of bamboo with agriculture, agroforestry by value addition. The next thing is I considered was bamboo is a perennial crop, so it's easier to manage. And there are a lot of environmental benefits. Dr. Bharti Saab and Dr. Jigesh Saab will be discussing all this, so I don't need to go into the oxygen part and the carbon sequestration because they'll be discussing in details. From as a product, yes, bamboo has a lot of versatility because of its tensile strength, its availability, its multiferous use, and those parameters are all. I've given all the links after the presentation. I mean, at the end of the presentation, so all those links are available. I'll not be going into details here because it won't be boring for everybody. Now, one issue which comes to my mind, bamboo has always been, called the poor man's timber, which I guess is a misnomer, and we need to redefine bamboo in its right place in the right, perspective. And that is what we are going to be discussing further. The next question is how to get into the bamboo, craft or bamboo agriculture. So this is what are the salient points that I made and from my experiences. See, number one, the species I considered. I considered the species which were relevant to me. I basically, as I told you, I'm into handicrafts as well. So we first considered the species that could be grown easily in the right. That's the endemic part. It should be endemic. Second was I don't know if the issue of gregarious flowering is known to the people on the people who have our guests basically. Bamboo has something called gregarious flowering, which is a phenomena very very peculiar and very specific to bamboo. So we need to be when we're planting bamboo, we need to be sure of the fact that bamboo will not flower in the next 30 years, or that's the commercial life of bamboo. And from that point of view, you need to consider bamboos which are biologically young. And after this, the next consideration was I considered sympodial bamboos because they are easy to control, not a monopodial, because they, at times become difficult to control. And the next issue, just a minute. Yeah, the next thing was what use. For me in particular, we are into walking stick, we are into baseball bats, we are into a whole lot of stuff which require solid bamboo. From that point of view, we selected Newton's and vulgaris because of its internodal distance, and Newton's also because it's the thickness of wall is pretty good and suits my purpose. So that consideration has to be undertaken by all farmers, and without the market, just growing bamboo is something which I would not advise. Even I mean, every farmer should at least endeavor to search for value addition for bamboo, and this can be done. It's not a very difficult task because making modules of, let's say, maybe construction, maybe basketry industry, maybe there's so many applications. You just need to see what goes around you. One issue which plagues India is bamboo is grown in the east. The applications and the end use is probably the other end of the world, probably Bangalore, Jaipur, wherever. So from the cost point of view, we have to work out kind of a modular approach, wherein you have the growing as well as the processing under one roof, if not one roof, maybe close by, because the cost of logistics is what's eating us hollow. I mean, I've noticed bamboo in Assam is 100 rupees. It comes to Delhi, it's about 700 rupees, 800 rupees,
So it's 7 times or 6 times the cost of the original product which goes into logistics. So this is where we need to put our heads together to somehow work out what species go best where, and accordingly work out modules of the industries, that is the primary industry, the secondary industry, ancillary industries, all together so that we can save on the logistics part of it. I mean, in fact, industry like these stick that incense sticks for that matter, it could best be made from the waste of other industries. So rather than growing bamboo just for the incense stick industry, which is not cost effective, the raw material would probably be better sourced off from the waste of another primary unit. I mean, things like this where we can align the full chain of use of bamboo so that there is no wastage of bamboo. This is something where we need to really put our heads, together, and we need to somehow, optimize the use of bamboo and all its parts. Coming to the processing and value addition, this is not a very difficult task, and it's best done at site. And because the certain techniques like this this is require immediate treatment after harvest. So in India, this is one of the major problems I faced when I first went to the mandi. I tried buying bamboo from the mandi. This was probably 5, 6 years ago, maybe. So it so happened that I went to Merit Mandi. Haan ji saab, ye wo hai, kya naam? Oliverai hai, ye hai, wo hai. So all bamboo, my first shipment got months. It was a US shipment. So I had a lot of problems. That is when I realized that everybody out here is a liar. You need to, basically prepare yourself for bundle of life. So twice I faced this experience. I realized that the problem in India is the harvesting techniques of clear felling mixes up various grades of bamboo, the 1-year-old, the 2-year-old, 3-year-old. So you cannot distinguish between a mature bamboo and immature bamboo. So this is where one needs to, if at all you going in for export or the niche market, you will need to have the proper processing methods and proper segregation and proper harvesting methods that are coming to. And within India, yes, we have options like paper, charcoal. Bamboo charcoal is a big thing. People are considering. For construction, we need different species of bamboo, which are probably most, let's say, less hollow or maybe fully solid. Then the industries like boards and engineered products, China is way ahead of us. But we need to learn, and we're doing a good job. Bamboo basically, became fast track thanks to recent endeavor by the government to get it out of the forest. That was a good initiative. And now is what happened. Now is when the research has really started in evolving bamboo as a commercial product. I mean, before this, it was just, as I said earlier, a poor man's timber. So yes, bamboo fiber is another thing people are talking about. Linen is a big thing. Bamboo food, of course, that's pickles and all those things. So there's a lots we can do with bamboo, and lots we will require a lot of brain, a lot of effort, and a lot of synchrony of getting, the material, the growing areas, the endemic species, and the industries under one roof. This is something which we really need to put our head together. Now, coming to the cultivation part, I'm basically based in Tarai, so my perspective, my focus, and my talk would probably be more relevant to Tarai. So Tarai being sub-equatorial and that kind of weather, hot humid weather, something like Bengal, that was one consideration what was endemic to Tarai. And the second thing was, as I told you, my requirement of handicrafts of solid bamboo which is probably 2 inches to 3 inches. So I selected. I have about 20 odd varieties. I've collected varieties. As I told you, I had a lot of problems in number one, the mandis, and number two, even collecting seeking right species in numbers was difficult. So
first task was to make my own nursery. That is when this was probably 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I thought of making a nursery. That is when I went from pillar to post, collecting various materials and the best suited materials. So from that point of view, I collected Newtons from Govind Vallabh, which I found to be a very good bamboo, and green vulgaris again from Govind Vallabh, as well as ICFRE. I found their vulgaris again very good, and Balkova. But Balkova, the internodal distance being less, my applications are more towards use of Newtons and green vulgaris. From farmers' point of view, why these? I'm coming to that because number one, they're loosely clumped, easier to harvest. Loosely clumped means they don't get entangled, and biomass is pretty good. So the internodal distance is good. So for making handicrafts and walking sticks and all those things, I found these bamboos to be ideal for furniture, for that matter. You know, so besides these, I have found, as of now, stock side to be growing well in our area, but I've not experimented with the usage of stock side as yet. I found mm, this guadua to be doing well. It's growing well in Tarai. Guadua, I have been lucky to have received one is angustifolia, one is another one Dr. Lakshman Sir gave me. I forget the name, and it's again a very good guadua. Both are doing pretty well, but the growth of angustifolia seems to be slightly better in Tarai as of now. I mean, I cannot compare because the age difference is there, but what I see as of now, I've told you. The second variety, oliverite, it's a tightly clumped bamboo. It's a good bamboo, doing well in Tarai. It's last 3 years, 4 years I've been observing it. It's a very good bamboo for walking stakes, and it's maybe for fine furniture, as well as a fencing, live fencing material. So that is, we have about 18 odd varieties of bamboo, amongst which these 2, 3 I've already told you, fast track. Besides this, we are working on Hamiltonite, that is Somdevai. Tulda is not much of a requirement for me because it's thin bamboo. But it's doing well in Tarai. Now the target markets, I've already told you how, modular and yes, river protection. We have some farms along the river. So bamboo was one of the options, the riverside plots. That is why why I was experimenting, and I found that vulgaris has a deeper root system than other species. So vulgaris, when it's coupled with maybe vetiver, it makes a very good river protection method, and this has been discussed under the vetiver system, but not relevant to this particular talk, so I'll not go into that detail. Now, what it requires and what it takes to grow bamboo. Okay, basically, bamboo being a grass, it requires well-drained soil, well-irrigated soil, and moisture in the air, preferably. I mean, it can grow under dry conditions also, but talking about the endemic areas like Assam and Bengal, where bamboo grows naturally, the moisture is pretty high. The choice of planting material, that is something where we really need to put our heads together. See, every form of planting material or every effort of propagation has its plus, has its minus. In bamboo, probably you've heard of something called rhizome plantation, you've heard of something called vegetative propagation, and also tissue culture. Everything has a reason why it came as a research tool. For example, tissue culture plants, it gives a multitude of plants in a very short time, but the plants are delicate. So, I mean, likewise, BP, which is the going between rhizome and maybe tissue culture, the root structures, it takes time to develop. And for a farmer, what he needs to ascertain is that whatever form of planting material he may choose, the plant that goes into the field should be at least 2 years or 2.5 years old, so that the root structure is very well developed. From rhizomes, it will come directly. You can plant a rhizome directly. For maybe VP, you may need, and for that matter, even tissue culture, you may need probably incubation nursery where you first need to store the planting material for maybe a year and a half, 2 years to, number one, make the get the roots to right size. Number two, domestication. Because tissue culture labs may be whatever part of the country, and you may be in some other part of the country. So I mean, domestication becomes a necessary, step towards a successful plantation. Number three, land utilization and field preparation. Again, from dry point of view, sugarcane is a good crop here, and bamboo takes about 2 years or 3 years. It has that latency. So what we've seen here is it works very well with sugarcane. With sugarcane having been planted 1 year in advance, and the channels, of bamboo where you need to plant bamboo already laid out. So if at all you're doing October plantation of sugarcane, you can take 1 year of sugarcane, and next February you can plant bamboo with it. So by the time bamboo comes up, your sugarcane is already harvested and it's lived its commercial life 2 years or 2.5 years. And by the time bamboo comes up, so this is one. I'm just giving you one option. There could be many options dependent on the area you are in. Your condition, your land, your soil condition. I'm giving you again perspective. This may be a very narrow perspective, but this is a perspective from Tarai, because I have worked in Tarai. So from our point of view, sugarcane and bamboo works very well. For us, I personally have used, the under. I've taken undercover crops, medicinal undercover crops as well. For example, citronella, lemongrass, and we've evolved the same process of first starting with the grasses. Grasses mean sugarcane or aromatic grasses, and planting bamboo a year later. For that, you need proper planning. For example, drainage. You could perhaps already plan your drain so that bamboos are where the bamboo is planted in the drain, which is a straight line, and during irrigation, you just need to let out the water in the drain and not the full field. So I mean, those techniques, yes, I've discussed, and it's already provided in the resources section. So I mean, those I will not be going into detail. Now, the next thing is the spacing and the direction. There's a lot of controversy here. There's a lot of, to say, I don't have the right word. Let's say, I will not, let's be proactive. That would entirely depend on the end use as well as the size of bamboo. Larger bamboos like Newtons and maybe Bulgaris or maybe Balkova, these are the larger species. If at all they need to be harvested for timber, the spacing would be more, maybe 5 meters. So if at all you need for biomass, maybe like, for example, wood chips or maybe charcoal, that could perhaps decrease, but very slightly, spacing, again, the right perspective, we need to ensure that during the dry months, that is April, May, June, our tractor should be able to pass through for fire protection work. That becomes very, very important for us. Otherwise, the fire is a big hazard in bamboo plantation because of the oil the leaf has, and when bamboo sway by the wind, I mean, it's a risk. Basically. So you should have ample space within the rows of bamboo for intercultivation. During the years when there's no other crop, the first 3 years, so anyway you cater to because you already have a understory crop. But once
bamboo by itself is there, so there would be a lot of this leaf falling and dry wood, which you need to, number one, plow into the soil, and number two, make sure your soil and that ground is wet. There's no scope for fire. The cultivation parts again, I've that's manuring and irrigation schedules and everything that's enclosed as one of the resources. PDF documents I've already included in this presentation, so I don't need to go into the details of it. But then manuring will depend a lot on the soil structure, the native soil structure, the native yield, basically how much you're yielding, and has to be proportionate to that. So there are a lot of factors. So that is a very specific case. So I'll not discuss it in detail here. Yeah. Now comes once the bamboo is planted, lopping of the lower side branches becomes essential in our area. Number one, for the visibility part, because we've seen a lot of these animals trespassing to that. So you need to have, and number two, aeration. The lower branches, lopped till a particular height. So the sanitation, plant sanitation also becomes necessary, which you provide by. Once cultivation is, I've covered the cultivation part, now we're going into the harvesting part. See, bamboo for timber is best harvested on a 3-year cycle, maybe a 4-year cycle, depending on the timber quality that you may need, for which you may need to first learn to identify the 1-year, or 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year-olds, which initially you could do by maybe color coding, or in due course of time, you learn to identify the 3 years and the 4-year-olds. And then comes the technique of harvesting. Basically, bamboo, because it grows outwards, you always find the new culms coming on the periphery. So at times, a technique called horseshoe technique becomes necessary to be able to access the inner bamboo, which is the most mature. From this point of view, which I mentioned about something called loosely clumped species, it becomes easier for the farmer to harvest the mature culms from a clump and loosely clumped species rather than tightly clumped. And harvesting is also necessary to remove the ones which are mature, because we cannot let the culms be over mature, because then the yield of the entire clump decreases. So we need to be harvesting regularly every year of all the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds, if at all you're following a 4-year cycle, and maintain a plantation on a regular harvesting cycle. Next is harvesting methods. I've seen all across that they're using these what do you call them? Basically a machete. Well, machete may be a good option, but bamboo, when harvested, it has to be as close to the ground as possible. For that, I would prefer chainsaws, where you can really clear leftover stumps. Management becomes simpler, and the dead roots can be removed. China, I believe, I've not seen, I've read about it. China, after maybe a few years, when there's a lot of stubble and a lot of this dead root and unproductive root, in the soil, what they do is basically they put a pan of urea on that particular part of the culm, where you have a lot of dead, and they let it decay. So the residual root which is there in the soil evolves again and becomes new, and the rest decays off. So that's one method we need to try off. I've not tried this method because I've not reached a stage of maybe 20-year-old plantation. But I probably would recommend this trials to be carried out in FRI or wherever it's possible to
study this method of rejuvenation. As rejuvenation is done in the tea garden also, but that's a different method of pruning. We cannot prune in bamboo because bamboo grows the grass. And next thing is transportation collection from the field. So you need the alleys, you need spacing. Again, 5 meters spacing comes handy if you need to harvest and get your bamboo to a central spot where you're processing or whatever. Now I've discussed the cultivation part primarily, including the harvesting. Next thing is of the drying, preservation, and processing. Treatments like are going to be very specific to your requirement. Maybe if you're doing indoors and outdoors, it's going to be CCA for indoors, pre-sort treatment for the outdoors. And these treatments are all the methods and the methods I have given out in the reference section. You'll find it in detail. So I'll not go through it, what, where, and how. Yeah, from here, I would like to I would like to highlight rather what I saw in Assam and Bengal. I was wondering why their houses, 50-year houses, 40-year houses, when bamboo are still as strong as ever. So I got in touch with these natives from Assam and Bengal. Because I was working there, I had the interaction with them and they became friends. So what they mentioned was, number one, bamboo is always, I talk about those parts of the country, they normally harvest bamboo towards, let's say, winter. That's the onset of maybe October, September, end October. From scientific point of view, I gather that it's a dormant state, so I guess it doesn't grow, so it makes sense to harvest, bamboo at that point of time. Yeah, and then another thing which they highlighted was the lunar relationship, which I have not been able to find much data, but everybody out in the east, they normally harvest bamboo on uh, the darker phase of the moon. Now, what the lunar phase has to do with bamboo harvesting or starch movement, it's all gray area for me, so I don't think I'll be able to, or I have the capacity to comment on that aspect of harvesting. Once harvested, I noticed, in fact, they told me they would tie their bamboo in the river for about a month. I guess the reason is probably the starch being washed away, makes bamboo, basically the seasoning. Once the starch is washed away from the bamboo, the termite activity and all those things reduces. So I guess one of the natural methods of seasoning is like putting the wood or maybe bamboo in the flowing river. It makes good sense. And the third thing which I noticed, as well as these guys told me, that especially I saw all bamboos which were treated, with water. This was the Tista River area, towards belt. What they would do is they would stack the bamboos over the chulas and let it smoke, because the smoke for the chulas would percolate through the bamboo for about maybe 4 months or 5 months. It would naturally dry the bamboo as well as form a layer of carbon around bamboo. Now, these bamboos, if at all used for any construction, they just stay, they stay new as ever. So I guess we need to learn from the native methods of treatment and probably, evolve some, develop them and evolve methods which are based on our native knowledge. That is something I am working on my own as well, but I would also request the various scientific institutions, to somehow pay some, attention to these native practices. Yeah, coming to the end use of bamboo and selection of the species I spoke of. You see, bamboo comes in various forms, hollow, solid. So The choice of species. We must remember that splitting a bamboo is easier for a hollow bamboo rather than a solid bamboo. So wherever you require splitting of bamboo, making slats, things like bamboo strips and all those things, a hollow bamboo would probably fit the bill. Trades like basketry, mat making, things where you require slats, even for that matter, mat board, engineering products. You require bamboos that can be split, and a hollow bamboo would probably fit the bill. Also, here I would like to highlight that a longer internode makes a neater product, as well as the tools are not blunted as often. The internode is slightly harder. The node is slightly harder than the internode. So longer the internode, lesser the nodes, and lesser the nodes, the easier to handle. So from that point of view, the people, the basketry trade and mat making trade, they prefer bamboos which are with longer internodes. And as against this, structurals and construction, they require a solid bamboo. And also, because the nodes add strength to the bamboo, so shorter internodes makes good sense here. And so, I mean, you need to select basically what end use you are targeting and accordingly choose the species from the species that are endemic to your area. Coming back to the structurals, bamboo has a unique distinction, of being able to sustain any earthquake. So for seismic constructions, bamboo is one of the desirable products. We could possibly evolve certain models and certain seismic constructions, like for example, Kumau belt and Gadwal belt, which are probably I think in seismic zone 4. So bamboo could be fast forwarded here for constructions, and accordingly we could develop some technologies for seismic construction. The problems with bamboo construction, probably flammability, you could use fire retardants and all these things. Joinery is a big issue because bamboo requires special techniques in joinery because of its fiber being in one direction. So that again, I've given a detailed PDF document at the end of this what do you call presentation. Yeah, now, yeah, these are the references. By the way, how much time is left? Hello, is anybody there?
So we have another up to 11.
I can't hear you.
11:30 is.
No, how much time is still left?
Sir, you have 15 minutes, sir.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so I'm almost over.
Yes.
Basically, these are the references I've, whatever little I could fit in here, I've collected and I've given on the construction. So you can, I don't need to open them here for you. So you can open, basically bamboo cultivation is, this is relating to cultivation part. Again, cultivation part.
Sir, we're not seen your presentation, sir.
This is the processing part. And this is basically the pickles and all those things, the food, basically.
Sir,
and there's some data on the bamboo trade.
Kindly share.
And I would like to thank all of you for being and bearing with me. I mean, whatever, I'm sure I must be very boring, but thank you for bearing with me. And I think I'll wrap up here, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We have a few questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. How's this is a question from Mr. KP Murthy.
Can you speak a bit louder because I can't hear you?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, sir. This is a question from Mr. KP Murthy. What is the potential for bamboo growing in Punjab and Haryana?
Like, I couldn't get you. I couldn't get you.
So, 1 second, please.
I think I'll remove my turban and wear a cap. It would be easier for me to hear. 1 minute, please. Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. I think a change of cap helps definitely.
years are there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
The question from Mr. KP Murthy: how is
Okay.
the potential for bamboo growing in Punjab and Haryana?
You see, Punjab and Haryana, bamboo, I've seen the Hamilton Eye, what they call mucker, growing very well. I believe Newton's is drought resistant. It will do very well. So this is, and of course, dependent on irrigation, because if at all you can provide irrigation, maybe whatever method, bamboo, I guess, can be grown, because I've seen people growing bamboo there.
Okay. Next question from Mr. Gaudaman Bhaskaran: how many varieties of bamboo are suitable for different areas of India? What is the life cycle, commercial and ecological value, please? So a short question.
So the thing is, we need to work out, number one, what is endemic, what can be grown, and from there we will need to see what all species can be grown, and accordingly a business model evolved. For example, stockside is a Deccan variety. It's a drought-resistant variety. So Deccan would probably do better with because water sources are scarce. So Deccan would probably do better with these endemic varieties like stockside, rather than varieties from Assam which require a whole lot of water. So that again depends on, number one, the resources that you can give, and simulate for because water is a big requirement for bamboo. Well-drained soils is a big requirement for bamboo. And once the bamboo is grown, you need to have a module, or rather modules of industry in and around bamboo. So this is something which you need to work out on a local level, rather than ask me from a person from Tarai, because that's what I'm doing here. What I've done is, thanks to NBM and thanks to intervention from industrialists, we've evolved basketry modules here, because we had, in fact, we have these pockets of Bengalis, we have these pockets of Biharis who once upon a time, used to make baskets. The trade died out for some reason, because bamboo became scarce, and harvesting bamboo from the forest became problematic, red tapeism and all those things. But now that the bamboos come back, we've tried to evolve, reinitiate these modules. Thanks to NBM, they provide machines and those things. So we are evolving bamboo growing areas, as well as bamboo processing units as well within the vicinity. And I guess this is something which every area should find and do on its own.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
This question is from Mr. Bandana Diman.
Okay.
Sir, which species is mostly used in small-scale cottage industries?
Yeah, see, now I discussed this in detail. Now, basketry, all these things would require hollow bamboo. Walking sticks would require solid bamboo. Javelins would require a solid bamboo. That depends on what handicraft you're targeting, and what skill sets you have, and what can be grown in your area. Oliveri is probably very exclusive to Tripura. Though Tarai being very similar weather, I've tried it out, but I do not know how it performs in Deccan, which is dry belt. So you need to see what you can grow in the first place, and number two, what you can add value to in the right way, so that it is acceptable in the market.
Okay, sir. I'm clubbing two questions. Can you enlist the bamboo species suitable for high rainfall areas?
See, bamboo normally comes from a high rainfall area. What area are you talking about?
They want species, a list of species that are suitable for high rainfall areas.
Can you please specify geographically what area are you talking about?
Probably you can take the Western Ghats or the
Western Ghats. What altitude?
Say what altitude?
Maybe
okay,
3 to 4,000 feet.
4,000. 4,000 feet?
Yeah, 4,000 feet becomes rather cool, you know. What the species that I work with is basically equatorial because our weather, Tarai, is equatorial, touches about 40 summers, but very moist. And winters, we are about 5 degrees. So my experience is very limited to the equatorial species. But from that point of view, I have seen Darjeeling areas, I've seen Gigantus and Hamiltonized Sundevai would probably do well at that altitude.
Okay, sir. Last question. What soil types are suitable for bamboo cultivation?
As I said, well irrigated, well drained soil, sandy loams would be preferable.
Any red and black or clay?
Well, that bamboo would grow there, but may not thrive there. You see, because water retention would be very, very high.
Okay. Okay.
But there are ways of doing it. You could probably make proper drains. You know, the drainage system could be evolved like they do in the tea gardens. And there are methods of doing it. But you see, if at all you can provide those ideal conditions naturally, your costs would be less.
Okay. Next question, sir. Elaborate uses of Balcova bamboo.
Yes, see, Alcoa bamboo, it's a very good bamboo, mind you. The thing is, it has shorter internodal distance than Newtons for that matter, even Vulgaris for that matter. So it's got good biomass, all right. It's very good for staking because of strength. It's very good for structurals, you know, for example, ladders, for that kind of works where you require solid bamboo and you require strength. It is, but then handicrafts and all those things probably you would go in for a hollower bamboo or maybe a longer internode bamboo. That is very specific to your requirement. Balcova paper would probably, you know, be one of the options. Paper, if at all, paper industry would be, because there are certain paper mills which are talking of utilizing bamboo. Then I believe alcohol is that's energy. Is another thing. Coal, making coal, charcoal would probably be another thing because that's where you require the mass. You know, what else? Maybe for fiber. You know, because there you just need to use chemicals to separate the fibers. So that's another option. But then you know, one needs to experiment.
I think we have completed with the question and answers, sir. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. You have really touched on the practical aspects of bamboo farming. Once again, on behalf of BSI and the entire team, I would like to thank you wholeheartedly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. Best wishes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.